The Rings of Power is easily one of the worst written shows of 2022. This matters because, as the show shrills like to point out, there are actually some redeemable aspects of the Rings of Power. The music is fantastic, the visual effects are spectacular, and yet, despite the strength of these very important qualities, the Rings of Power is terrible. This is because no matter how good secondary details are, the strength of a movie or a TV series or book is first and foremost its writing. Now I will more broadly go over the aspects of the writing of the Rings of Cringe and why exactly they are terrible. The writing of the Rings of Power can be broken down into four major chunks: the pacing, the dialogue, the characterization, and the plot. I already talked about the pacing itself in a separate video, which you can watch here. So let's move on to the dialogue. Dear Eru Ilvotar, the dialogue, it's cringe and bad.
The stone sees only downward. The darkness of the water is vast and irresistible. But the ship has a secret. For unlike the stone, her gaze is not downward but up.
It's as if the writers wanted to have the dialogue seem wise. The only problem being that to be wise, you need to have wisdom. They also seamlessly reuse dialogue from the books and films in order to attempt to trick the audience into thinking they're watching something they love.
That not all who wander or wander are lost.
There. In terms of characterization, there is no characterization. In the first 6 episodes, we learn essentially nothing about the character of Hobo Gandalf, the Discount Hobbit, Discount Elrond, Discount Legolas, and Discount Aragorn. These so-called characters have whatever traits they need to have in a particular scene, whatever skills the plot calls for, and no personalities whatsoever. Finally, it is time to turn to the plot. I also half-examined this in my video on the Rings of Cringe's pacing issue, but I feel the plot deserves further analysis. So, about the plot. What is it? I mean, so far things have been happening, but it's rather quite hard to say there even is a coherent plot. Instead, the show follows a group of different so-called characters with motivations that are entirely separate from each other. The Discount Hobbits are just traveling around with no meaningful destination in mind. Discount Elrond is actually not doing a whole lot at all, is he? She-Elf wants to kill Sauron because he killed her brother, who we have no emotional attachment to at all, because he died in the second scene he's in. And the Southerners want to live, which I guess is a fairly understandable motivation. So, what are the stakes of the plot? What's the urgency? The Southland plot is the most decent in this regard, I suppose, with the stakes and urgency being that there's a sizable orc army swinging by. But as I mentioned in my pacing video, this is the last time I mention it, I swear. The Southland's plotline is finished anyway. So continuing on, if Discount Elrond fails, a forge doesn't get built. If the Discount Hobbits fail to migrate, wait, why do they have to migrate? Oh yes, and if She-Elf doesn't kill Sauron, then Sauron doesn't die, which we know he won't anyway, for the next 1,000 years or so. In short, the writing of the Rings of Cringe is abysmal. My diss take for episode 7 should be out Sunday night at the latest. Thanks for watching, and I will be back very soon.